What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the J Powell Music Channel here. Of course, you know what to do. If you want to help out the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. All that stuff really helps out, and I appreciate everyone who's done that thus far. And hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving / eat a lot and enjoy family and good times. Hope everyone has been able to take a, do that. So I hope everybody's doing well. I had a thought that I wanted to record on here, and obviously, if you guys are familiar with the channel, I'm a guitar player and like putting different guitars together, finding really good deals. I just came across another deal too, that Joe's Average Guitar. Damn you, Joe! I bought another guitar because of you. Shout out to you, by the way. But I had this thought. And, for someone who's playing guitar today, it must be really strange. Because a lot of music today, or a lot of just this new generation, a lot of people that I've encountered a lot of people that I've talked to where if they're this newer generation, they're not really inspired by a whole lot of guitar players today. If anything, it is a nostalgic nature of being acquainted to guitars then, which obviously makes sense, which is obviously one of the reasons why I picked up the guitars, because of, guitar players before me. But I think when it comes to an inspiration for someone who wants to learn, I feel like it's got to be a lonely process, because there's a lot of people from this generation that either don't listen to music, or if they do, it's something that is just like a gimmick on TikTok or via streaming or what have you. It's very circumstantial or situational, I should say, but and everyone listens to singles, right? But when it comes to like an album, actual like work, completion of work from an artist, it doesn't seem like that's really something that the newer generation is interested in, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit. And I was thinking of two things. One of them, I was thinking about a new guitar player kind of learning guitar in this generation. Obviously, one of the biggest things is that there's so much research, there's so much resources, there's so many resources available to a guitar player learning today. Where if you are disciplined, you can learn some decent stuff pretty quickly with a lot of resources that are available today. Obviously, back then, people learned from horn players, vocalists, or they tried to learn note for note, playing the tape back and forth, or even the record back and forth. And that was a big thing as well. But today, if there's so many ways for you to learn. If you're disciplined, you can learn probably pretty quickly, probably faster than guitarists before us, which also makes sense, right? But then I thought of this thing, when a guitarist buys a new guitar at Guitar Center. So I was in Guitar Center today, had to get some picks, getting ready for a church gig, actually. But I was thinking about, there in front of me, there was, a kid, and they're buying like a starter kit, a guitar kit. And the word starter kind of sunk in my brain. Like, what is really considered a beginner guitar? Because I hear that a lot, and I know I feel like it's more of a marketing ploy than a realistic thing. I think in this society, or just in our structure, whatever, I don't want to get too political, but, we're trained to, when these words, the beginner, this beginner guitar, you know what I mean, professional guitar, I feel like it's really just there so you can spend more money in the future, and not a literal thing. My main point of the second part is, I don't think there is such thing as a beginner guitar. I don't think that exists. I think there are guitars that are made well, and there are guitars that aren't. And obviously, people say, well, Jarrell, a beginner guitar would be someone who has a guitar that isn't made very well, maybe, and that's what they got. And then once they get better, they can get an expensive one. But that doesn't make any sense to me, right? Why would you want to give a beginner player a guitar that isn't made very well, where it can affect how they play the guitar? It definitely decreases their comfortability. It decreases how well they play the instrument, and then also too, it can kind of play some tricks on them too. If there's a guitar that isn't built very well, the guitar player may think that it's them of certain mistakes that are made, but in reality, it's just the guitar isn't made very well. And I don't think that's fair. I think that's weird, and I don't think that should be considered a beginner guitar. That's just a guitar that isn't made very well. Um, Another point that I have here is that everyone knows like the years of Gibsons, or a lot of people that own Gibsons, the years of where the guitar was just not made very well at all. And these are $1,000+ guitars, and these aren't considered beginner guitars. These are considered well-made instruments, right? They're made by Gibson, you know what I mean? So, and obviously the name Gibson is very is kind of faded for the new musician today, or the new generation today. I have a different video about that. But when it comes to the cost of the instrument, there's some bad years for Gibson. It's very similar to years of cars, where there are certain years where, oh yeah, we had to recall that. The engine didn't work on here, yada yada. And that's an interesting thing in itself to me, where it's like, oh yeah, there's a year where we just didn't do a good job, or whatever the reason may be. And but my point is that they would consider those guitars beginner guitars, right? They would be considered still professional guitars. They just weren't made very well for whatever reason during that particular time. So I think, and I've played guitars actually that were older guitars made very well, and I wouldn't consider them beginner guitars. Maybe there were some cheaper things on them, but when it came to the neck, the neck and the body and on all that, I know a lot of it is definitely conjecture based on the actual person playing, but it was a well-made guitar. There's just a couple things that needed to be adjusted, but that could be the same for any other instrument. How many guitar players do you know where they buy a guitar that is $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, and they change out the pickups, or they change something else out? They're not getting it, and they may hold the stock pickups just for the sake of maybe the value if they put it back in and sell it, but they get it and they want to change it to how they want to. And some people say you shouldn't do that. Why are you spending money on a guitar if you have to change all the stuff? Well, I mean, my opinion is that it's related to the player. If you want to switch something out, switch something out. But my point is that I don't think beginner guitars exist. I think the word beginner, we have to, obviously when it comes to playability, or as a musician, where you are as a musician, that obviously is valid, right? You are in a beginner stage. You don't know these amount of chords. You don't know how to strum. You don't know the fretboard. You don't know the notes of all that stuff. Like, obviously, it makes sense that for when it comes to the level of playing, yes, beginner, intermediate, professional, that makes sense. But when it comes to beginner of an instrument, I just think that is just marketing nonsense of spending money. you know a lot of the guitars that I like, and I don't know why, maybe it's just me growing up with, when I'm learning these guitars, or just based on my budget, whatever. I learned and played and learned guitar on budget instruments my entire life. You know what I mean? I'm not upset to admit that, because it's like, I still play really. I'm proud of my level of playing, and it's been on budget instruments, but it's like, that's fine, and I love taking cheaper guitars and customizing them, pushing them to the ability, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm taking a beginner guitar and pushing it to the professionalism. I just like it when it comes to when you play guitar, and that's like the best feeling to me as a guitar player. When you play a guitar and you feel like, I love this. I want to take this home. Like, I want to play more on this. I want to learn more stuff on this, and just see where you can take it from there. You know what I mean? The feel is there. You just want to expand it, try some different pickups, things like that. So, but yeah, I just kept thinking about the word beginner. Oh, you have this beginner guitar. Oh, there's this beginner guitar. There's this beginner guitar. We are in an age today where there are so many high quality guitars that aren't the Fenders, they're not the Gibsons, they're not the high end brands that we know, but they're very well made instruments. I always think of J-Man and Musi. You know what I mean? He brought up the M Music brand, bought a lot of those guitars out of his own pocket, money out of his own pocket, tested them out, and showed like, hey, these are actually really great guitars, and they're around the same price as like the Squire Classic Vibe series. And, those are really nice guitars too, those tellies, you know what I mean? But they're hard to find now. You have to go online to buy them really, or you could take a look at a music where they have guitars around the same price, but their specs are way more advanced. Roasted maple neck, not like the cheap plastic woods that a lot of Squires tend to have on. Stainless steel tuners, or stainless steel frets. Sorry, stainless steel frets. Obviously a different sound than nickel, but still a crazy specifications. And then locking tuners, but it's at a price of $349, right? $349. And then someone would say, well, that's a beginner guitar. It's a great beginner guitar. Is it? Is it really? Or is it just a great guitar that's priced really low? You know what I mean? So that's just kind of my thoughts. So basically, for my point for that, there's a lot of great guitars that may be considered beginner because they don't have that brand title, but they're unknown or whatever the case may be. I just think the word beginner for a guitar specifically, I just don't think that exists. I play a lot of expensive guitars that don't feel very good. I have, and maybe that's conjecture, but for my experience, I've seen expensive guitars that don't play well. They don't play. They're not comfortable, and I've played cheap guitars that feel great and that are well put together. They're well set up. So to me, it's like if the guitar is well set up, to me, beginner guitarists shouldn't. The notion of them playing on a cheap or not as well made instrument, that shouldn't exist. Everyone has the right to play on a well set up guitar, no fret ends. Obviously, when it comes to the pickups and everything, those are very conjecture like things, right? Stainless steel versus nickel. Of course, there's some benefits to stainless steel versus nickel, but some people just like the sound of nickel versus stainless steel versus stainless steel, or vice versa. Conjecture things. They shouldn't be in the same line of beginner to professional, because I know professional guitar players that prefer nickel frets. So interesting topic. That's why I was just thinking about that. So. Let me know your thoughts. Of course, in the comments, this is a video where think piece things. This is the J. Powell way. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on that. As far as the word beginner, do you think that really exists for, guitar specifically? Or are you on my side of where, and you don't have to be on my side. It's a YouTube, side of, where beginner level when it comes to guitars, like expensive guitars, they don't play as well. Some don't play as well as cheaper ones. So anyway, rambling on too much. I will end the video here. J-Powell Music. You guys enjoy your weekend and relax, eat good. I'll have more videos for you guys out soon. Thanks a lot.